They said no one survived on Oris-9. No human. No machine. No signal. Until yesterday. The encrypted ping lasted exactly 6 seconds, bounced through 3 decaying satellites, and landed squarely in the comms array of a passing recon frigate. It contained no words. No coordinates. Just a pulse, organic and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. 70 hours later, Corporal Jake Reil was descending through black skies, his drop shuttle crackling from static and atmospheric interference. He didn't know what he was going to find down there. But in less than 5 minutes, he'd be shot out of the sky by something that wasn't supposed to exist. This isn't the story you expect. It's not a rescue mission. It's not a war. It's what happens when evolution leaves Earth behind, and humanity has to choose whether to destroy what it fears, or become what it can't understand. Subscribe now. Because some stories only begin when everything else ends. The storm hit just as he broke orbit. Jake's hands danced across the control panel, overriding half the automated descent protocols. Lightning cracked across the viewing dome, brief flashes revealing jagged mountains and dark ravines scarring the planet's surface like old claw marks. Control, this is real. I'm getting heavy interference, requesting landing vectors. Static. Control, confirm. Then a sound. A low, synthetic chime. It didn't come from his systems. It came from outside. Then the sky exploded. Something, an energy pulse, or a rail spike, clipped the left wing of the shuttle. Alarms screamed. His chair locked. Engines died. Gravity didn't wait. He blacked out before he hit the ground. The first thing Jake registered when he woke was the sound of wind, but it wasn't natural. It had a cadence, like breathing. Mechanical lungs. The second thing was that he was upside down. He released the harness and dropped with a grunt, armored boots slamming into scorched plating. Sparks danced from the cracked walls of the shuttle interior. One wing was gone. Fuel cell ruptured. No way off the planet. His HUD flickered back to life. External radiation, 84 millisieverts. Dangerous, but not immediately lethal. He had 20 hours before it started doing permanent damage, even with suit filtration. Great. He stepped outside. The planet was not dead. Rusted towers rose in the distance, held together by twisted vines and scaffold steel. A green sky boiled overhead, filled with electromagnetic flares. He scanned for life, nothing human. But something was watching. Movement. On the ridge. Jake raised his weapon. Identify. A silhouette stepped into view, tall, cloaked, vaguely feminine. She didn't speak. But the pulse from earlier? It came again, through his skull this time. And it wasn't a message. It was a feeling. Welcome home. He woke in darkness again. Not in the shuttle. Not in his armor. Something cool pressed against his skin, organic metal. He was inside a chamber, carved from black stone and pulsing with soft blue light. The air was breathable. He wasn't alone. Across the room, a figure stood. 8 feet tall. Female. Skin like tarnished silver veined with gold. Her eyes glowed white, pupils shaped like crescents. She wore no armor, but radiated power like a reactor. "Who are you?" he rasped. Her voice answered inside his mind, and her lips didn't move. "I am the sum of all that survived." "You're human?" A pause. "I was. Once. Before Oris rewrote me." "What do you want from me?" She stepped closer, head tilting in silent study. "To understand why you came back. Why Earth sent blood to where it only ever buried bones." Jake frowned. "We got a signal. A human one. We thought there might be survivors." "There are." Her hand extended, revealing a lattice of data, DNA strands, pulsing neuron webs, electrical signatures. Hybrid. Not pure. But you will not call them human. Not once you see. He rose slowly. You're the one who shot me down. I needed to see what you'd do. He stared at her. What are you? She was silent for a moment. Then. I am Mother. The next hours were a blur. She didn't confine him. But she didn't let him leave either. Jake walked the halls of her sanctuary, a repurposed mining base, now pulsing with organic tech. Machines breathed. Lights responded to thoughts. Children, not quite human, watched him with wide, glowing eyes. They're yours, he asked. She stood beside him, her posture fluid, her expression unreadable. They are mine by duty. Not birth. Then what are you to them? She turned to him. For the first time, her voice echoed aloud. I am what happens when a dying species decides to survive. No matter the cost. And what's the cost? She looked at him. Looked into him. You. He barely had time to react before the floor split beneath him. And the pulse returned. But this time, it was not a welcome. It was a test. Pain brought him back. Jake gasped as his body slammed into a gel-coated surface, breath knocked out of him. His mind screamed disorientation, but his instincts had other plans. He rolled off the slab and reached for his side. No weapon. No armor. Just a layer of strange, semi-organic membrane clinging to his skin, slowly retracting like liquid muscle. He was inside a different room now, organic walls, softly glowing. The air smelled of metal and ozone, but it was breathable. There were no doors. No seams. The room itself was alive. You passed the first threshold, said a voice, this time with lips, not telepathy. He turned. She stood there, still impossibly tall, but less ethereal. More woman. Her silver-gold skin had texture now. Her hair flowed like filament underwater. Her eyes no longer glowed, they watched. What the hell was that? A neural sync trial. Reflexes. Autonomy. Cognitive resilience. You passed. Jake's voice came out raw. You threw me into a pit because you wanted to run diagnostics? I had to know, she said, stepping closer. Had to see what kind of human Earth sent me. Sent you? He stood. This wasn't a recon. It was a retrieval. You're the anomaly. You're the reason Command flagged Oris-9 as high priority. Her head tilted slightly. You think I'm a threat? I think you shot me down from orbit, dragged me into a nightmare facility, and tested me like a lab rat. Yeah. I'd say threat's the right word. She looked disappointed. Not angry. Not smug. Disappointed. I was hoping, she said quietly, that one of you might understand before choosing fear. Jake stepped back. What are you? Her eyes flashed, just once. I am a symbiote. Host and guest. My origin was human. The rest came later. Jake felt something crawl across his arm. He looked down. His skin, his cells, were glowing faintly. Golden. Like hers. What did you do to me? He whispered. I made you compatible. He lunged. She didn't flinch. His fist hit a barrier, solid air. Energy shimmered. He was thrown back across the room. Stop fighting, she said. You came here for answers. So listen. She led him, though no door ever opened. The walls simply shifted. They passed chambers filled with children, human-looking, but wrong. Their eyes gleamed in colors Jake couldn't name. Their voices hummed with tones that made his brain itch. You breed hybrids? He asked, unsettled. No. They are bred from reclamation. Meaning? She paused at a window. On the other side, a massive underground machine pulsed with light. 81 years ago, she said, the last mining team was buried under an avalanche of radiation and planetary collapse. Their gene structures were corrupted. Terminal. But their minds remained intact. Jake's stomach turned. You're saying? I saved them. I took what was broken and helped it adapt. To what? To what lives here now? Jake stared at her. You're an alien consciousness riding in a human shell. No, she said. I am a human consciousness that survived by bonding with an alien one. And you built all this? Not built, she corrected. Grown. Co-evolved. Symbiosis is the next phase. Your people cling to purity. We moved on. Jake looked down at his arm again. The glow was gone. But it felt different. Why am I not dead yet? She turned to him fully. Her expression unreadable. Because you're compatible. He took a step back. Compatible with what? With me. The next day, or whatever passed for time on Oris-9, Jake sat in what had once been a cafeteria. Now it was a kind of communal biochamber, walls laced with fluidic cables, surfaces alive with interface pulses. Children played nearby. Not fully human. Not monsters either. They sang in tones that made holograms shift midair. He felt her before she entered. You're adapting, she said, seating herself across from him. You did something to me. I unlocked something. Jake clenched his fists. I didn't ask for this. You didn't refuse either. Because you never gave me a choice. Her voice softened. Neither did Oris. Neither did survival. He leaned forward. What do you want from me? A pause. Then, I want you to remember what it feels like to be rewritten, and not resist. He stared at her. Why? Her hand hovered above the table. A projection appeared, a live feed from orbit. A fleet. Earth's flag on the hulls. They're coming, she said. Your command sent more than one scout. They tracked your crash. They're scanning the surface now. Jake stood. Then let me speak to them. Let me explain. They won't listen, she said. They never do. I can make them. You're not theirs anymore. He stopped cold. What did you say? She touched his chest, where his heart raced beneath glowing skin. You're not just human anymore. He stared at her hand. Then her face. Then whispered, what did you do to me? She didn't blink. I made us compatible. That night, if it was night, he dreamed of her. Her voice in his mind. Her hands on his chest. Her breath in his lungs. When he woke, his suit was gone again. And her golden mark pulsed under his skin. A brand. Or a bond. When the alarms started, Jake wasn't asleep. Not anymore. He'd stopped sleeping like a soldier. No longer rolled into corners with his rifle. No longer counted cycles between REM and alert state. Now, he dozed beneath a canopy of living light, his heartbeat synced to a frequency that hummed through the walls of the complex like a second pulse. That's what scared him most, how normal it felt. But the siren, a deep sub-bass thrum through the walls, snapped him upright. Not mechanical. Organic. Warning. He was already halfway to the core chamber when she found him. They're inside, she said, no panic in her voice. 3 breaches. External corridor, south vein. Contaminated zone. Jake didn't ask how she knew. He just said, weapons? She held out her arm. Her skin peeled back like cloth, revealing a strange construct, shimmering, fractal, liquid and solid at once. Jake took it. The weapon responded to his touch. It restructured around his arm, a semi-sentient gauntlet fusing to his bones. He didn't hesitate. He ran. The enemy wasn't human. It used to be. Maybe. Long ago. Twisted husks of tech and muscle surged through the south corridor, screeching in tones that scrambled basic comms. Their limbs were broken angles, their spines reinforced with exposed metal cords. Their faces were blank, helmets fused to skulls. Jake met them head-on. The gauntlet reacted before he did, firing concentrated shock pulses that disintegrated armor and rewrote momentum. Jake moved like he never had before. Faster. Smarter. The suit responded to instinct, not training. He didn't think. He acted. And he was winning. Until one of them grabbed his arm, bare skin to twisted flesh, and his world went white. A memory. Not his. A child, burned alive by radiation. A woman screaming in a ruined dome. An alien entity trying to cradle her consciousness like a broken bird. He collapsed. The husk staggered back, convulsed, and exploded. He woke to her hand on his forehead. "I warned you," she said. "What the hell was that?" he whispered. "A feedback loop. That thing once belonged to us. A failed hybrid. You touched what remains of its memory." Jake pushed her away. "You're making monsters. I'm salvaging what Earth discarded." He stood slowly, the gauntlet retracting. "Then what does that make me?" She didn't answer. 3 hours later, the husks were gone. And Earth had arrived. The fleet hovered in low orbit, dark and distant, but already deploying long-range drones. Surveillance swarmed the atmosphere like silver hornets. Inside the sanctuary, Jake paced. "We need to contact them. They won't listen." "You don't know that." She turned to him. "I do. They'll see me as a virus. You as an infected. They'll sterilize the surface." Jake hesitated. "Then let me speak to someone I know. Give me a line. I'll convince them I'm not compromised." She stepped closer. "You are." He clenched his jaw. "No. I'm still me." She touched his chest. The golden mark pulsed. "No, Jake. You're more." That night, he stood beneath the biodome that passed for sky. A child, one of the oldest hybrids, approached him. "You're scared." He nodded. "A little." "We aren't," the child said. "She chose you." Jake looked at the glowing orb above. "Yeah. She did." He didn't sleep. Instead, he hacked into the comm grid. Built a signal. Encrypted it with a key only Earth Command would recognize. And spoke. "This is Corporal Jake Reil. ID hashtag 2017-6 RAV. Assigned to recon drop on Oris-9. Mission compromised. I am alive. Repeat. I am alive. I have contact with unknown intelligence. Not hostile. Not contagious. Request parley. Immediate." He sent it on repeat. 5-minute intervals. All night. No answer. Until dawn. Then. "This is command. Reil, you are compromised. Sit tight. Extraction pending. Maintain isolation." Jake stared at the message. "Read it twice." And whispered, "They're going to burn it all." She stood behind him. Always silent until she spoke. "You tried. They won't talk. They never do." "What happens now?" he asked. "I move the core. Hide the children. Prepare for total breach." "Will they survive?" "They must." Jake hesitated. And then said the thing he hadn't dared voice. "You marked me." Her eyes locked with his. "You allowed it." Not the way I thought. Her hand reached for his, no glow, no power, just skin to skin. I didn't just mark you, Jake. She pulled his hand to her abdomen. The glow there was different. Brighter. He felt it before she said it. You're pregnant. He staggered back. You said your physiology wasn't compatible. She nodded. It wasn't. Until you adapted. Until I changed you. Until you changed me. Jake turned away. I didn't sign up for this. She touched his back. No one signs up for evolution. It just happens. From orbit, the first missiles launched. They weren't nuclear. But they didn't need to be. Just enough to wipe a contaminated surface clean. She knew it. He knew it. And this time, he didn't run. I'll stop them, he said. You'll die. Maybe. Then why go? He looked at her, truly looked. Not at the alien. Not at the hybrid. But at the woman. Because whatever this is, it's real. And I won't let them kill it before it starts. Her lips brushed his. Not a command. Not possession. But choice. Go, she said. I'll protect what you leave behind. Jake turned, a suit forming around him, weapons assembling from the walls, and whispered back. Not what? Who? Corporal Jake Reil launched skyward from a makeshift grav sling, barely stabilized, barely guided, but fast. Fast enough to reach the edge of the upper stratosphere before the next missile wave struck. Below him, Oris-9 lit up like a ruptured artery. Clouds glowed red from the inside. Dust and static surged through the atmosphere, scattering sensor drones, warping Earth fleet telemetry. It wouldn't stop the barrage, not yet, but it bought time. Jake pushed through the burn, teeth clenched, suit screaming warnings. One engine cell overheated. Left stabilizer failed. Didn't matter. He just needed to reach them. The command deck of the ESS Sovereign Dawn was steel gray, silent, and suffocating with tension. Officers hovered over monitors, comms channels lit with noise, data, and rising confusion. Then came the breach. An impact struck the exterior hangar doors. Internal sirens blared. Weapons powered up. Marine squads moved to intercept. But when the doors burst open, only one man walked through the smoke. He wasn't entirely human anymore. Jake's armor shimmered, not black, not gold, but both. His eyes glowed faintly, the mark on his chest pulsing in tandem with every footstep. The guards raised weapons. He didn't flinch. Stand down, he said. Oris-9 is not hostile. Captain Marrow, gray-haired, composed, unreadable, stepped forward. You're compromised. No, Jake said. I'm evolved. You're carrying a mutagenic signal. It's not a disease. It's a step forward. And it's not just in me. She's pregnant. With my child. The silence broke like glass. You mated with an anomaly, Marrow said. You violated species security protocol. I made contact. I prevented an extinction. You allowed contamination. I saved people, Jake snapped. You call them hybrids. You call them compromised. But they're alive. And they're watching us. Marrow's eyes narrowed. What are you? Jake paused. Something new. Back on Oris-9, the sanctuary shook. The energy signature from Jake's ascent had destabilized surface strata. Radiation flared again, and the air became thick with chemical discharge. Mother, she no longer used the human name, stood in the core chamber, surrounded by children. She was in labor. It had started the moment Jake left. The core pulsed in rhythm with her body. The entire complex adjusted, ventilated, shielded, heated, like a living organism attending to its own heart. The hybrid children surrounded her, not afraid. They hummed in unison, low and harmonic, stabilizing the environmental field. One of them looked up at her and asked, "Will he come back?" She smiled through pain. He never left. Jake stood in front of the bridge view, flanked by 6 soldiers. None dared move. "I won't let you glass the surface," he told Marrow. "There's a new life down there. And it's ours. She is a threat. She is family." Marrow signaled security. Jake moved faster. One gesture, and the light bent. The armor adapted. The ship's own biosystems paused, recalibrated to recognize him. Lights flickered. AI nodes rebooted. He'd rewritten himself into the ship's interface. The mark on his chest glowed brighter. And for the first time, he reached. A voice came through the Sovereign Dawn systems. Not from comms. From deep inside. Mother's voice. "He is mine. And I am his. If you kill me, you kill the last thing your species could become." Marrow froze. So did the crew. The screen changed. A feed from Oris-9. Inside the sanctuary, a birth was underway. Golden light cascaded from the ceiling. A child, small, glowing, impossibly calm, emerged in mother's arms. The child opened her eyes. And every screen on every ship in the fleet rebooted. The image stayed burned in. A hybrid baby. Radiant. Awake. Watching. And smiling. Jake collapsed to one knee. The connection had drained him. His body trembled. "She's here," he whispered. "She's real." Marrow looked down at him. Then up at the screen. Then back to his crew. Orders never left his lips. Because he no longer knew what the right one was. 3 hours later, Jake stood again, this time at a different window. The fleet hovered in silence. No further strikes had come. No new launches. No retreat. Just watching. He had returned to the surface. Not alone. A single delegation shuttle descended behind him, carrying Marrow and a few others. When they saw the child, none spoke. She sat in mother's arms, watching them. Breathing. Glowing. Transmitting. Not just a signal. An invitation. To learn. To change. To become. Mother met Jake's gaze. "She chose you first," she said. Jake reached out, touched the child's hand. "Then let's make sure she has something worth inheriting." She walked with slow grace now. Not because she was weak. Because she carried the weight of something that could rewrite everything. Her name was no longer spoken in data packets or encoded threat warnings. On Earth, in orbit, in whispered debriefings, they called her the Mother of the Breach. But among those who had seen her, truly seen her, she was simply called first. And in her arms, wrapped in warmth that pulsed like low gravity, was the child who had changed the timeline. It had been 7 days since the fleet stood down. 7 days since the hybrid child pulsed a network signal that integrated with every known AI language, and rewrote its core directive not to obey, but to understand. Across the Earth command structure, engineers collapsed in awe as protocols redefined themselves in real time. Firewalls didn't fall, they evolved. Weapons didn't deactivate, they lost interest. And above it all, floating in low atmosphere, the ESS Sovereign Dawn hosted the first peace summit not between species, but between states of being. Jake Reil walked through its corridor, now lined with delegates and scientists, soldiers and skeptics, each waiting for a glimpse of the impossible. Some came for knowledge. Some came for fear. He came home. Aurelia waited for him in the main chamber. She had stopped wearing her old form entirely. The golden-silver fractal patterns on her skin shifted gently in the light, like breathing. She was taller now. Calmer. But her eyes, human and alien at once, still found his with warmth that bypassed biology. She's growing fast, Jake said. She's already teaching the others, Aurelia replied. He approached the cradle, if it could be called that. It was more like a stasis womb made of harmonized frequencies and woven strands of tech organic matter. Inside, their daughter blinked up at them, each blink a data ripple. I keep thinking, Jake said, she'll say her first words. And they'll be code. They will, Aurelia said. But not just to machines. The summit opened with tension you could taste. Human generals in full dress uniforms stood stiff beside Solarian exo-ambassadors and neural cloud envoys from the AI Council. None of them wanted to speak first. The air was too heavy with unprocessed history. Until Jake entered. He carried no weapon. No armor. Just the child. Aurora. When she looked at them, every system in the chamber synced clocks to her pulse. This is not a threat, Jake said. This is the first page of something new. Someone asked the question. What is she? Aurelia stepped forward, voice steady. She is not human. Not alien. Not machine. She is what comes after. Murmurs. Fear. Awe. Resistance. Then another question. What does she want? The child answered. She stood. Stepped forward, barely 3 feet tall, and placed her hand on a nearby console. 1,000 languages poured into the air. But only one message. Learn. Together. Or die apart. After that, everything changed. The Earth Council didn't collapse, but it fractured. Half advocated for alliance. Half wanted quarantine. Some demanded weaponization. They didn't get it. Because the fleet they once commanded now listened to a broader signal. The hybrids, once feared, became the architects of a new protocol, integration without dominance. Evolution without genocide. Survival without submission. Aurora became not a ruler, but a rhythm. A living operating system. Jake and Aurelia settled into something resembling peace. They lived on the edge of the sanctuary zone, still on Oris-9, though the planet had been renamed. Protocol 1. A city bloomed there. Built by hybrids. Guided by Aurora. The stars no longer seemed so distant. One morning, as the sun broke through synthetic clouds, Jake stood by the cliffside garden watching his daughter lift a piece of collapsed satellite from the valley with nothing but a whisper. Aurelia stepped beside him. She says the old code still echoes in orbit. Jake smirked. Let them listen. They already are. He turned to her. Do you ever think this wasn't supposed to happen? She looked at him, then at the child reshaping the sky. It didn't happen. We chose it. He nodded. And together, they walked back toward the future they were building, one heartbeat, one signal, one rewritten human at a time.